Hello everyone. So I hope you have a great time at EclipseCon. So thank you for joining this session about coding Kubernetes for kids with Scratch and Eclipse Che. So my name is Santan. I work for Red Hat as a software engineer, and I am one of the Eclipse Che committer. I've been contributing to this project for the last 6 years. And I'm also enjoying speaking at developer events such as Java 1, EclipseCon, or DevOps France. And during my free time, I'm leading the Paris Java user group. And I'm also brewing my own beer in my kitchen. You can follow me in Twitter with the handle @__Unix_. And you can also follow the hashtag Chejoys. These are short videos I'm tweeting from time to time with that presents a nice feature that we have in Che. So maximum 1 minute. So yes, please follow this in Twitter. And today I am with Ilya. Hello, Ilya.
Hello, folks. My name is Ilya. I'm also a software engineer from Red Hat. I'm Eclipse Che and Eclipse JavaScript development tool committer. Currently, I'm mostly working on Eclipse Che hosted by Red Hat. It's our open source free of charge SaaS offering, and it's actually the easiest way to try Eclipse Che. So just go to che.openshift.io, register in a few clicks, and you will be provisioned with the new account with 8 GB of RAM and 2 GB of storage to try Eclipse Che with our getting started samples or to try to develop your own pet project there. I also enjoy public speaking, and I used to be a speaker at various events, and really happy to be with you today. And before we start, I actually have a question for you. How do you interact with Kubernetes? So you might be a CLI fan and you use kubectl or OC to interact with your clusters. Or maybe you are a GUI fan and you use WebUI or OpenShift Web Console to see all the resources you have in the namespaces. Or maybe you are a developer and you use various libraries for various languages to interact with Kubernetes and create resources in the namespaces. For example, we have a wonderful Fabricate Kubernetes client library that we use in Eclipse Che under the hood to interact with Kubernetes and OpenShift. And today with Sun, we are going to provide yet another way to interact with Kubernetes. But before we start, let's be honest. Kubernetes is hard for developers. While Kubernetes helps to run applications at scale, in a distributed fashion, it becomes harder for developers. Kubernetes setup is intricate, and it's not really straightforward to get the application up and running in the right way on the Kubernetes. But today, we want to focus on the Kubernetes learning curve, which is really high. And today with Sun, we want to actually lower the fans a little bit and provide fun and easy way to interact with the Kubernetes using Scratch programming language and Eclipse Che IDE. And now back to Sun, who is going to introduce you to Scratch.
Yes, so thank you for the quick introduction, Ilya. So maybe some of you may not know what is Scratch, and I was thinking that the best way to show you Scratch could be with a live demo. So let's go to the web browser, open the Scratch website, so scratch.mit.edu. And once you get there, you can create a new account. So it's already done for me. And you can create a new project. So when you create a new project, it is going to load the Scratch editor. And what you see on the right is a kind of game board. So this is where you're gonna have your game running. So by default, there is the cat. So his name is Scratch. In the middle, you have the source code, where you can move blocks that are on the left panel. So you can see there is various categories of blocks: motion, looks, sound, events, control, and operators, variables. You can even set up variables, and so on. You can also create your own blocks. It would be like creating a function. So let's try to move the cat, for instance. So there's a block called move. And what we could do is click on the green flag, but it won't do anything. Because to activate this block, we need an event. And there is a lot of events here, and one is called when the green flag is clicked. So if I click again on the green flag, it's going to move the cat 10 steps. So it's actually 10 pixels. I can try more blocks, such as the control blocks, and you will find blocks like if then else blocks, or even some for each blocks, called loops blocks. And I would try to use the repeat 10 times and do it and execute the move 10 times. So if I click again, it's doing it. Great. I can even use forever for an infinite loop. And if I try with that one, it would move the cat forever. So you can see that it's keeping moving. Come back, little cat. And yeah, so I had to click on stop to stop the software, the game. Okay. So there we can try to other actions like say hello. And what I would do is not doing that forever, but repeat 10 steps. So repeat 10 times, move 10 steps, and then say hello. And I can change the text. It's done. Okay. So this is a first overview of Scratch. Yeah, I can show you one of the game I've written with my son. It is actually a race car that we have written with my son. He's 8 years old, and we did that together. So you see these blocks, and this is the game itself. If I click on the green flag, there is 2 cars that are gonna appear, and I can use my keyboard to drive the cars. So I can, for instance, drive the green car, and also the red car, and we can have a race car like that. Fun. I can keep playing forever, but I think we have other things to show for this talk. So that's pretty it for the Scratch presentation. So I can move back to the presentation. I think, Ilya, you wanted to talk a bit about Eclipse Che.
Yes, Sam, thank you for the great Scratch introduction. And before we move on to the demo, the main demo, I will say a couple of words about Eclipse Che. So as you might know, Eclipse Che is the Kubernetes native IDE for developer teams. And it's actually also a project under Eclipse Foundation, open source project, obviously, under Eclipse Public License 2.0. But not only can you find the Eclipse under the Eclipse umbrella, if you go to the CNCF website, you will be able to find Eclipse on the cloud native landscape. Next slide, please. So here is Eclipse Che. And the motto of our project is that anyone, anytime, can contribute to a project without actually installing software. And if you think about it, our development environment and the applications changed dramatically for the last decade. If you think about it, what was coding look like let's say 15 years ago, it was let's say Java, and it was Java from front to back, from top to bottom. So you had one version of JVM, one version of the application server, and it was pretty much it. But now in the cloud native landscape, the situation changed dramatically. So you have various of projects, microservice architectures, and our laptops are not ideally suited for this landscape because we have limitations to RAM, we have limitations to CPU and storage. And Eclipse Che actually shines when we develop it in the cloud for the cloud. So Eclipse Che can be deployed on any flavor of Kubernetes. Could be vanilla Kubernetes or, let's say, OpenShift, which is downstream project of Kubernetes. And with Eclipse Che, we define a new kind of workspace because we containerize everything, not only our internal things like Che server, database, or key cloak for authentication. Everything is running inside the containers and pods, even the IDE. And it allows us to provide the easy to configure, highly reproducible definition of workspaces that can be shared amongst the teams. And you will never have the problem, it works on my machine, but it doesn't work in production. You will have the very same environment for coding across the team. And if you take a look at the IDE part, by default we use Eclipse Che as a framework for our IDE. So it has a VS Code-like experience because it's called the Con Monaco editor, and it's the very same editor that is used under the hood in VS Code. So if you get used to VS Code, it will be easy switch for you to Eclipse. And we have built-in support for various languages and debuggers. We are the language server protocol and debug adapter protocol. And the last but not least, Eclipse Che is compatible with VS Code extension. And now, after this quick introduction, I move back to Sun with the main demo.
Okay, so for the main demo, what we would like to do is be able to create a Scratch application that would interact with Kubernetes. For instance, what we could do is display the list of pods. And how we can do that. So I'm going to switch back to the Scratch user interface. And so what we would like to do is to add a new library of blocks, so a new category of blocks with blocks that could interact with Kubernetes, such as get pods or get namespace or and so on. So any single calls to Kubernetes that you could find in any traditional Kubernetes client. So how it would look like. So to create a new category of blocks in Scratch, you have to check out the two projects. So Scratch GUI, which is actually the UI that you have seen just previously, and Scratch VM, which is the engine that will execute the blocks when you have your game or your program written. And in Scratch VM, you could add so your custom blocks in there, and these custom blocks that we have prepared for you will call the REST API that is written in Quarkus, and this REST service will actually make the real calls into Kubernetes using the Fabricate Kubernetes client. And we will be able to, for instance, display the list of pods. So let's have a look to the workspace I have just started before the talks. So when you create this workspace out of the box, it will show you this guide to tell you how to run this the demo. And the first thing it would ask you to do is to run this 3 commands. So I have already started the first one, and I could use the right panel to run the other commands. And these commands will be run into a dedicated containers that we have defined in our workspace. So we have, for instance, a container that will where we're gonna run the Quarkus backend, and we have a component, a container that will run the Node.js application, so the Scratch application. So I'm gonna run the second command, and that will compile the Scratch application in dev mode, so the Node.js application, and make it available to us. So I'm just waiting for it to finish the compilation. So this is going to be a live dev mode, and every time I'm gonna do a change, the change is gonna be applied live. So let's open it, and here it is, the Scratch UI. I can start the Quarkus backend, so either by clicking here or just here. And then open the application. Okay, so I'm gonna switch that to English. And so what we have here is the Scratch application. So you don't see the Kubernetes library. You have to install it from there. And here we are. So these are the Kubernetes blocks that we have written. Let's play with this one. So I'm gonna try to use the events when the green flag is clicked, and I will say hello, not say get pods. So we will display so Scratch. So the little cat will say the list of pods that we have in our current namespace. So let's give it a try. Okay, so it doesn't what we really expected, right? It's actually the list of pods in JSON, in the JSON format. We have also created a few blocks such as get the number of pods from this list. So there is 10 pods in the list, and we have also get one of the pods from the list. So I'm gonna do that. It's also will display a pod in a JSON format, but I can display the name with this block. Yeah. I displayed the first one. It's called cleanup one dash deploy. So I can have a look in either with I would do it with doc command instance here and OC pods. And yes, so the first one is called deploy as we have seen here. I can randomly take maybe the third one. Yeah, Eclipse Scratch Kubernetes Che. So this is the one that we have created here, that we can see here. I can even see if I display the number of pods, make sure that the number is is changing. So so now we have 10 pods in the Kubernetes, and I can use the OpenShift console to create a new pod in my namespace, and see that we have one more pod in the namespace. So let's say so it's gone. Great. So if I come back to my Scratch application, and if I run again the game, it is now showing 11 pods. So what I can also show you is one of so I have created a more advanced Kubernetes Scratch project that will iterate through the pods and show the name. So if I run it, it shows, okay, at the moment there is 11 pods, and I have an event, a listener, when space key is pressed, then move to the next section. So this is done here. So if I click on, I press space, it would go to the next one, and space again, and next one again. Okay, so I could see the pod that had created previously, so it's the number 4, and go into the end. And that's it. So I would like to finish now with what if we want to add more blocks into that library. So I have made available in this guide the action to open the right files that you need to perform that. So there is a open Kubernetes client service .java, which will open the class that is responsible of serving as a REST API our application. So yes, the service that will interact with Kubernetes. So it's used the Fabricate REST client, and we use that to display the list of pods, for instance here. And I have created previously a method, so an endpoint, an endpoint to display the current namespace. And so this is done. So what we have to do next is to create the blocks itself that would call this endpoint. So I would go into that file that is located inside the Scratch VM projects, and in the Scratch free Kubernetes extension. And this file contains the blocks that we have in our library. So you can see the blocks that I have created previously. So I would just copy this first one, and each block's description will code the method underneath with the same name. So for instance, get pod name will call the get pod name method. So I can just, if I want to have a new block, for instance, to display the current namespace where we are, I can just create a new, add a new description here. Use the right name for the method I'm going to create afterwards. It is not going to be a block type command. So commands is when you don't have anything to return. And we have a reporter block type, which is when you have a value to return. Okay. I want display any provide any arguments to this block, and then that's it. I have to create now the get namespace. So I would just copy paste the set namespace method and modify it a bit. I'll call it get namespace. I remove the arguments. I don't need them. And I will change a bit the code to the REST API. So just removing the last part of the path, the URL, and repeat it. So there is something wrong here because I have one more. Okay. So if I go back to that the command that I started previously, it has normally recompile it. Okay, I can just refresh the application. Okay, and then switch into English. I can reopen the blocks, and I can see the new block that we have created. So it's available, and I can use I can like previously display it with the say block, say get namespace. Yes, so it's displaying my namespace. Okay, and to prove that I'm not cheating, I can do something like here to up. Okay, and thanks to the Quarkus live reload and dev mode, we can see now the namespace in uppercase. That's pretty it for the demo. Okay, so we wanted to finish this talk with a quick summary and maybe discuss about the benefits of Che and Scratch and what we have done. So the first item was to discuss was if we managed to make Scratch Kubernetes, and I think we in a good yes, we did a good start to achieve that, exposing Kubernetes as Scratch blocks, and you could imagine being able to create things like maybe a clone of the OpenShift web console, but written in with Scratch. And I think it's really is a good start to that. What do you think, Ilya?
Yes, absolutely. I think it is indeed yet another way to interact with Kubernetes, and now Scratch could be treated as Kube native with the custom blocks. And the next point is that dev file takes all the environment setup complexity, and it's actually true because with Eclipse Che we provide easy to configure and portable, highly reproducible way to share the workspaces. And I believe on the next slide, when you will show the project repository, you will focus on this dev file, because indeed it's a killer feature of the Eclipse Che.
Yes, exactly. And when we actually started this project, I started that with my Eclipse Che workspace, and that was it was running inside my GCP Kubernetes cluster. And the only thing I had to do when I wanted to share that with Ilya was to share the dev files, and Ilya was able to run that on his own Che instance that was running on OSD, on OpenShift, and was working like a charm. The next item is Kubernetes accessible for kids now? So as far as I'm concerned, I think maybe not for kids, but at least it will make it easier for even developers like us to quickly create application that would interact with Kubernetes. So even for us, even if you are used to Java or JavaScript, creating an application with a nice UI that will quickly interact with Kubernetes is not straightforward, and that would make it a lot easier even for us, and maybe for people who would start programming, and maybe in the future for the kids. Who knows?
Absolutely, and I mean, indeed, Kubernetes for kids is pretty much catchy headline for the conference, but we provided yet another way to interact with Kubernetes in a pretty easy and fun way. And on top of it, you get the modern Kubernetes IDE for coding. It was actually amazing how you developed the Quarkus, and it was automatically rebuilt and hosted with the Eclipse Che runtime environment. So yeah, I believe it was great.
Yes, thanks. Okay, so I think we can. I can show you now how you can replay this demo your own Che instance. So if I go back to session, so this is the link to the repo, and in this repo there is some indication how you can run that. So you have to install Che somewhere in the cloud or even on your own laptop. So we have the full documentation on our website. You install it either on OpenShift or in your own cloud or the public clouds like GCP or Amazon. And then once you have done that, you would have to replace your Che host here, and then provide with the factory service the URL of this repo. And what would Che do is look at if there is a dev file.yaml that is in that repo, and have a look in there. It would parse this file and generate the environment exactly the one that you have seen just here. Okay, with the guide and everything, and then we'll be ready to start coding. So the dev file is pretty much like a Docker Compose file, but where we add more information for Che to clone the right projects and to have the right container also to build your application, and with the right commands to build or run your application. And in that case, we can finish with you can get involved.
Absolutely. So just go to eclipse.org/Che, where you can find getting started guides, documentation, contribution guides, and the link to our Mattermost channel, where we would be happy to answer all your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I guess we had one question from the attendees. It was let me try to find it back. Yes, so this is a question from Mark. So he's saying, yes, so what is the good age to start coding with your kids? Mine have recently turned 5, But I think it may be a little early. They're just starting to read, write some words. So I can answer that because I also have children. So mine are 5 and 8 years old. And I think for Scratch, it is a little bit early for to start because they need to be able to read and to understand how what the block is doing. But there is a project called the Scratch Junior that's maybe something that you could try with 5 years old or 6 years old child. And otherwise, there is some. If you want to start with the concept of programming for children, there's also some board games like Robot Turtles. So I actually play a Robot Turtles with my kids. So you could have like several rules for each levels, and it is very nice to start. So there is no it is not there's no computer required, but it is very a good way to start to have the right concept of programming and so on. And there is also Cubator, which is a robot that you can program with. There is a board to program the robot to make it move, So very nice as well, but a bit expensive. And that's it for the questions. Thank you very much for attending this session, and yes, don't hesitate to join in MetaMost and ask any questions if you need any help. Thank you.